I decapitated Carlton Fisk. Sox won, though. CHGO White Sox post-game show presented to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I am your host, Sean Anderson, being produced today by Joey Christopoulos.
I love it when Shane Smith pitches.
Yes. White Sox win when Shane Smith pitches. Sox win 8-1. If you have any thoughts on this winner, let me know in the chat. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button on this video and subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. It would be a huge help to us. We have a big show for you tonight. We'll obviously talk about tonight's game and yesterday's game. We'll talk about Shane Smith's performance tonight. We'll talk about Luis Robert Jr.'s absence from the lineup both tonight, and they've already announced that he'll miss tomorrow night's game as well. We'll talk about Jeff Passan's deadline piece where he brings up Luis Robert Jr. as a possible trade piece. We'll talk about fixing Andrew Vaughn. I had a chance to talk with Nick Bledsoe today. The recording didn't go well, but I'll tell you about Nick and the great things that he's done putting together a plan to fix Andrew Vaughn. And then we'll talk about the 78 as Joe Mansueto, the owner of the Chicago Fire Morningstar CEO and founder, has announced their plans, the Fire plans, to build a self-funded stadium at the 78 site. We'll talk about what that means for the Chicago White Sox. Let's get into the games. The White Sox lost yesterday 13-1. Do I need to say anything more?
I think it's just when you just turn the page.
Just turn the page. All right.
What did Pedro Gafal say? Flush it?
Flush it.
Flush it.
Do we have a flush sound effect? I don't think we do.
It's going to be a long summer. We might need one.
Hey, you see that one that says Pilar Fast right there in White Sox? Why don't you play that one? Because we talk about Pedro Gafal flushing it. Click that one.
You know, FAST was an acronym for something.
It was an acronym. Thanks, Kevin Pilar. It was for something. He couldn't tell you what it was. He played on the team for a bit. It was an acronym for something. Anyways, Pedro Gafal is gone. Sox lose 13-1, as you say. We'll flush it. Kerry Carpenter hit 3 home runs. I was going to say 13. 3 home runs in that 13-1 loss. The biggest news out of that game is Cannon goes to the IL with back tightness. He was pretty good in the month of May, but we did know that he was dealing with some back issues. Missed the start prior to his last start. They ended up throwing out Bryce Wilson. Then in that Mets series, they were able to push Shane Smith back one day and slide Cannon in on that Tuesday. He was really good in that Mets game, really rough first inning, but he was able to settle in. And then last night, just really not able to settle in. He's feeling uncomfortable. There were some quotes. This is from James Fegan over at SoxMachine.com. Some quotes about Will Venable on Cannon. We have a process for evaluating a player to trust what he tells us. He's out there throwing bullpens, and it's kind of a responsible ramp up to the decision point in which we decided that he was good to go. So we feel fine about our process. Again, it's trusting that the player was in a good spot. Jonathan is a competitor and wants to pitch, and we believe that he was in a good spot, and he just didn't come out of the last one feeling very good. So now the Sox are going to give Cannon a 15-day break here, and we'll see how he's able to reattack the White Sox, or reattack from the White Sox rotation. So I'm not too worried about Jonathan Cannon. I know that you were a little iffy talking about, I think he gave up 3 walks in the start yesterday. Just doesn't seem like he had his actual good stuff out there to go out and perform the way that you'd think he would. Again, May was a really good month.
I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say I like my Jonathan Cannon at 100%.
Yes.
So let's get him there, and then let's take it from
He's already working on like some thin margins with his lack of high velocity, his lack of swing and miss stuff. So yes, when you're throwing out an 85%, 75%, Jonathan Cannon, you're definitely going to get some pretty tough results. So Sox lose Monday 13-1, heading in today with a 4-game losing streak. Let's get into today's game. Again, an 8-1 victory. Did not start off too good for your Chicago White Sox. Shane Smith was fine. He gave off a leadoff walk to start the inning. It seemed like all 6 of the pitches were in the strike zone. Not a lot of help from the umpire there. But as we know, ball doesn't lie. A ground ball double play gets the White Sox to 2 outs, then Carpenter lines out to end the top of the first. In the bottom of the first, Vargas drew a walk, but no damage was done against Bo Brisky. Then in the top of the second, Smith pitched around a Riley Green single. He had 2 Ks against Torkelson and Dingler, and there was a great frame job by Caro on that K against Torkelson. Even Steve Stone was like, it didn't seem like a ball, but it was a great frame job. Bottom of the second, Brisky had another 1-2-3 inning. Top of the third, Smith threw 3 straight fastballs to Javi Baez, which I have no idea why he did that because it led to a single for Javi Baez. Then Gleiber walked, but a great K on Kerry Carpenter with a curveball. Smith was able to get around the 2 base runners on base in the top of the third. Bottom of the third, Tauchman walked, but no damage for the Sox. No hits through 3 innings. Then in the top of the fourth, another single by Riley Green is pitched around by Shane Smith. So again, no damage for the Tigers through the first 4 innings. In the bottom of the fourth, they go from Herder to Hannafy, the Tigers. This was a bullpen game for them. Vargas gets the Sox first hit in the fourth. Then a possible double play is screwed up by Hannafy. Both runners are safe at first and second. Carroll walks then to load the bases. And then Michael A. Taylor, the hero of today's game, if not for Shane Smith, gets an RBI walk, gives the Sox a 1-0 lead heading into the top of the fifth. Shane Smith continues his domination, going 1-2-3 in the top of the fifth. Hannafy goes 1-2-3 in the bottom of the fifth. Smith goes out there to start the top of the sixth, and after getting a ground out to end the first at bat against the batter, Venable comes out, puts in Boozer. Boozer did allow a walk to Riley Green, but no damage done. Still 1-0 after the top of the sixth. In the bottom of the sixth, Holton's on the mound. 2 infield singles by Slater and Caro, and then a 3-run home run from Michael Taylor. Who else? Hey, Sox Machine said that, now with Luis Robert Jr. struggles, there's 2 Michael A. Taylors on the team. And if Michael A. Taylor is going to play like this every night, that doesn't seem like a bad thing. I hope Luis Robert Jr. can play like Michael A. Taylor one day. That'd be nice.
Just a different center fielder providing a little pop in the White Sox lineup. Desperately needed.
Absolutely. Top of the seventh, Leisure with the 4-0 lead comes in. There was an infield single deflected off Leisure, and then Dingler drives in that runner with an RBI double, making it 4-1. And then in the bottom of the seventh, Sox are able to add even more damage. Vargas and Benny with 2-out singles. Then Slater's able to drive in both of those runners with a 2-run double, making it 6-1 Sox. The Sox do face a hairy inning in the top of the eighth. Leisure starts off the inning, then they go to Isert. Bases get loaded, and it's a line out to Tauchman that if it's maybe 2 inches away from him, that could be a real trouble of a hit, but Sox escape with no damage. And then the bottom of the eighth, the Sox get more insurance runs. Taylor walked, then stole second. Then Capra's single moves Taylor to third base, but then Tauchman drives in Taylor. Then Mydroth drives in Capra. Sox take an 8-1 lead, and Altavilla able to go 1-2-3 in the top of the ninth. Sox win for the 19th time this season. They're now 19-42. And again, we're talking about the progress that they've been able to make since last year. Is this baseball team good? No, I don't need to tell you that. I claim they were fun bad.
What's nice about tonight's game, first of all, double-digit hits the first time since May 28th. So a little bit of a dry spell.
5 days ago.
I know, but that's what I'm getting at. Is what I'm saying is this season is not about peaks and valleys. It's about like plains and valleys, like the great flat plains of just getting back to sanity, showing a little bit, giving us something to talk about, think about, a little bit of progress, and trying to avoid those potholed valleys I think that we were on the precipice of falling into. A 4-game losing streak can sometimes spiral out of control. It was a good win tonight for the White Sox.
Yeah, and then they score 1 run against the Tigers, 2 runs against the Orioles, so that's 3. Then they score 2 runs against the Orioles, that's 5. Then they score 1 run against the Orioles. And that 4-game losing streak, they score 6 runs. They get 8 tonight. 8 is larger than 6. So in one night, they're able to score more in the past 4. So again, I don't know about fun bad. This has been a pretty tough stretch against the Mets, Orioles, and Tigers. I don't know if it's going to get better. Tonight was a bullpen night for the Tigers. It was a great job or great opportunity for the White Sox to jump over them, and they did. They came into today 0-4 against the Tigers, a true butt whooping last night. So it was good to at least see the White Sox show up without their best player. We'll talk about Luis Robert Jr. in a second. I do just want to say the 2024 team had 10 wins by 5+ runs. When we're talking about fun bad, when we're trying to talk about, kind of putting them against the 2024 team, 8 wins so far in the first 60 win games by 5+ runs. 10 wins last year in 162, 8 wins so far through 61 games. It just seems like, when they're able to win, when they're able to take advantage of a team that isn't at 100% like the Tigers were tonight without a, good starting pitcher, relying on their bullpen, they thankfully were able to take advantage of it. You even saw that on the Mets game where they won 9-4. Mets didn't have their best stuff. Sox were able to jump all over that and win that game handedly. So at least we were able to see some good competitive baseball from the White Sox tonight. Let's talk about Shane Smith. I feel like we'll take the temperature on Luis Robert Jr. in a second because his story is weird, sad, and he's been just absolutely terrible at baseball. Shane Smith tonight, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, no earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. His season ERA now sits at 2.45. And the biggest thing from tonight that jumped out, you look at the actual numbers of the pitches thrown. You see 40 four-seam fastballs thrown, 20 curveballs thrown, 14 changeups, 9 sliders, 2 sinkers, 85 total pitches for Shane Smith. 27% called strike plus whiff percentage. Major league average is around 30%, so a little bit under, but not a bad night from Shane Smith. 13 whiffs on 47 swings. You typically see that a little bit higher. You typically see him whiff or create a little bit more whiffs. The biggest thing that jumps out there, 0 swings and misses on his changeup tonight. 9 swings, 0 whiffs on that pitch. You do have 3 balls put in play against that pitch, an average exit velocity of 86.9 miles per hour. So not a ton of damage done against the changeup by the Tigers, but still his best pitch was fairly neutralized, and he's still giving you a 5 1/3 innings outing, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. The one thing I do want to point out here is 20 curveballs. He has not thrown more than 9 in a game before. It seems like they've abandoned the slider. This was something that stuck out last outing, and Joe, you can go back to the main camera. We'll go to the movement profile in a second. I think this is something that they're going to be. This is something that you're going to see in Shane Smith's starts from here on out. I think that they're likely not abandoning the slider, but I don't think that this is going to be a go-to pitch. I think it was pretty telling that he didn't throw a single slider to Javi Baez or a curveball at all. I don't understand why he didn't. We've seen with him, Salvador Perez, Luis Robert Jr., these are some batters that are just really susceptible to the outside slider being spammed over and over and over again. I don't understand why Smith wasn't going to that. If you look at the movement profile, what I can kind of confer from this, why they would be abandoning the slider in favor of the curveball, what you could see is a lot of circles. The filled-in ones are Shane's pitches. The slanted circles are major league average. So you can see that the big red one, he gets a little less drop compared to major league average fastballs and a little less run towards his arm side than major league average, but he is able to get major league average velocity on that pitch. You can see with his changeup, again, increased velocity, and with that velocity, there's also more drop as well compared to the major league average changeup. And when you're looking at the slider, the mile per hour is above league average, which I think is obviously important. Eno Saris of The Athletic today talked about 85 being the magic number for sliders and whether they're good or not. So the fact that Smith is able to hit 90 on his slider is obviously good, but I don't know if they love the movement profile of the pitch. It doesn't get a ton of horizontal movement. You could see that it's Shane's yellow dot is to the right of the MLB average dot, meaning that he does not get that kind of tail away from a right-handed batter as you typically expect, or it wouldn't really cut in to a left-handed batter like a typical major league average slider. But with the curveball, you get a lot more drop. And I wonder if that's to just induce weak contact and have guys swing over the pitch. I don't know if that pitch necessarily tunnels better off of the four-seam fastball, or at least just plays better off of the four-seam fastball. But that's the logical conclusion that I'd have to jump to, is that they don't love the slider profile movement. It does get up to 90 miles per hour, but it's probably more of a cutter than a slider. You're getting a pretty decent amount of depth on his curveball, and it had great results. 6 swings and misses today, and he had a really fantastic outing. So I don't mind them abandoning the curveball if that is the case, because it does seem to be working. The magic in Shane Smith is that four-seam fastball along with the changeup. And the biggest thing with that four-seam fastball and the changeup, 1.6 mile per hour jump on his four-seam fastball tonight, 1.8 mile per hour jump on his changeup tonight, and a 0.1 mile per hour jump on his curveball. He was throwing the ball harder tonight than he typically does. So it's at least good to see his strength build up throughout the season. There are concerns about him going deep into games. Didn't get to 6 innings tonight, but the fact that he was able to have that extra velocity through 5 led to the success that he had today. So great job by Shane Smith. We have to take a break. We'll talk about Luis Robert Jr. right after this break. We want to let you know about our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose, with our friends over at Bet365. Download their app, sign up, and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. And the best part about Bet365 is their MLB early payout offer. If your team goes up 5 runs, you instantly get your bet cashed out on straight bets and parlay selections. So download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Bonus bets after you place your $5 bet and you get that $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. You must be 21 plus. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in app only. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Joey, how do I smell?
You smell fantastic, man. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing Mando. What kind of scent do you think I'm wearing?
You know, it's
because I've switched it up. You know, I've done a couple of scents.
I was gonna go with lovely scent. Man scent.
Stop it. It's the bourbon leather. Yeah, there you go.
That's what it is.
Whole
it was
body
a combo.
Mando is a unique deodorant that's different from other deodorants. It's a whole body deodorant that's safe to use anywhere on your body. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It was created from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. Look at this. Hey, here's the cream tube deodorant, the lovely Pro Sport from Mando. I loved this scent. I loved the Mount Fuji scent, and I also loved the bourbon leather scent. It is the deodorant that I use every single day. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Mando Starter Packs is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or deodorant wipes, along with free shipping. And as a special offer, you get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHGO at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. It's time to take the temperature with our friends over at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Again, we're taking the temperature with our friends over at Four Seasons here. What is going on with Luis Robert Jr.? Again, he has now gotten this day off and tomorrow off, so he'll have 2 straight days off. It's been a pretty rough go since he has returned from the injured list back on June 4th of 2024. I guess that will be the 1-year anniversary of tomorrow. We read off these stats, I believe it was about 2 days ago, and it was numbers out of 133 qualified players, and it is 130, 124 out of 130 if nice on the large stats that you care about. Average, on base, slugging, WAR. The one parts that he's excelled at, he's nearly 200 strikeouts since June 4th of 2024, which I think is 3rd in Major League Baseball. Evan stolen bases, I think he has 43, which is 5th in Major League Baseball. But truly, over the past calendar year, Luis Robert Jr. has been horrible, and there is really no sign of light to come. Do you have something to say?
I was just going to say, Sean, I noticed that you did a really wonderful deep dive on Luis Robert Jr. just a couple of days ago on our show, and then I've noticed that other Chicago outlets and places are not talking about Luis Robert Jr. over the last year. So,
I mean, it's just we don't need what do you think? People have to create content. I don't think any.
I think you did a good job.
A face I do not like.
I think you did a good job.
Thank you. I don't think I'm a trendsetter. I'll tell you that much.
You are with Mando.
It's very easy to see how bad Luis Robert Jr. has been over the past just year, and so bad that they need to take At least he needs to take a 2-year. Jesus, now you got me all thrown off. 2-day break.
Hopefully only 2 days.
Roberts ranked since June 1st of 2024 out of 133 qualified hitters. He is 130th in weighted runs created plus. In F4, 124 out of 133. Average 130 out of 133. On base percentage 131 out of 133. Slugging percentage 123 out of 133. Ks 3rd out of 133, and then the only one that is positive, stolen bases, 5th out of 133 since June 1st. The idea, at least per Brooke Fletcher and Connor McKnight on tonight's broadcast, the idea is to take pressure off of Luis Robert Jr. It does seem like this has started to build up on Luis, and then McKnight said it's letting Luis work on his mechanical fixes along with the approach at the plate. And the one thing that Connor did say is that Luis is embracing this. Luis hasn't hit a home run since May 2nd, so it's been an entire month since he's homered. And over that stretch, he's hitting 163, 207, and 198, 0 home runs, 5 walks, 30 strikeouts. You do have 8 stolen bases and 0 caught stealing, but again, when you have not been able to hit a home run, you only have 3 doubles and 86 plate appearances or at-bats. This is just not a player that has lived up to expectations for his entire career, but especially in 2025, you thought that Ryan Fuller would be able to bring more of a patient approach for Robert at the plate. That has shown itself in a way because his career walk percentage is higher than ever, but you can even hear it from him. He was asked, I believe, by the beat reporters, what do you think of a team possibly trading for you? And I think this was in the Cincinnati series. And he said, I don't understand why anyone would trade for me right now. It feels like Luis is open to changing what's going on because he has been so bad. And just, it's just been baffling how bad he has been. I feel like there is a Javi Baez redemption arc possible for him. I'm surprised at how well Baez has been doing this year, and it seemed like he was just going to kind of ride out that contract till the end of it. He's been really productive at that 9-hole for the Tigers this year. I feel like Luis has some sort of second story to his career. I just don't think that's going to be with the White Sox. I think you're going to see him get traded this July. What's it for at this point? Probably a bag of balls. This is not a truly interesting player with the lack of confidence that he has. It's just interesting because he has the ability to play defense and steal, and that's what Jeff Passan writes about. But at the end of the day, the White Sox will not get what they wanted for Luis Robert Jr., or at least what they wanted before the 2025.
I don't want to come across as too dramatic here, and I feel like you might feel that I'm being a little dramatic here, but this is kind of, this reset right here, this is kind of it, right? There's not going to be a ton more, let's sit Luis Robert Jr. down for 2 or 3 days to work on his swing over the next couple of months. This is a moment where he can take a step back. Everyone can take a breath as an organization. He can come back and hopefully be the player that he is in June, which... What would that look like? I don't know, 740 plus OPS, something along those lines.
Higher.
And at least get back into the market where he can be traded. This move is kind of that move that if it doesn't work, they're not going to sit him down again, and they probably won't trade him. So this is the attempt for everyone to kind of get on the same page with that, get him right, and hopefully get that trade value going again.
The only thing I care about, and I think that they care about from June 3rd to July 4th at this point, is Luis Robert Jr. hitting home runs. If he is able to hit home runs, and you even brought up a 740 OPS, I don't even think they care about that. If he's able to walk, he's able to play defense, he's able to steal after getting those walks, and then just add some power, that could rekindle interest. But again, this is not going to be, at least I don't think, at this point with how he's played so far, this is not going to be a franchise-altering trade like we all thought it would be if they were dealing Luis Robert Jr. It's just not going to happen because this player is nowhere near how ready they were to take over Chicago in 2021. He came off the IL, and I think he hit like 350 in 2021. It was absolutely absurd. You just thought that, again, like he was going to be the next Mike Trout, and it just never reached that peak again. OPS plus that year of 154, 110, 130, 86, 58.
One more follow-up on this. I saw Bruce Levine, I believe it was on 670 Score a couple days ago, mentioned that there's a possibility that if Luis Robert Jr. stays in the White Sox for the entirety of the year, they wouldn't even pick up his team option. What is
Yeah.
Your thought on that likelihood?
Why would they? I mean, they're not paying anybody. I mean, they didn't pay anyone. The three highest paid players on this team right now are Benintendi at 17.1 mil, Robert at around 15 mil, and then Vaughn at 6 mil. I mean, they didn't spend more than on a free agent this year than Vaughn. Like,
I understand
they're not spending double digits on this terrible team.
But isn't the golden rules to never just get rid of an asset like that? You just try and get something out of anything, and you know, and at $20 million, maybe someone can talk themselves into a center fielder that they could put on their team.
That's why I think they're just going to trade him at the deadline. No matter what they get, they're going to try to maximize what they get from him, but I just don't think it's going to be much. Southside Sox saying, so do we regret not getting what we could for him last year? I just don't think that there was much that you could get from him last year because, again, he returned from the IL and just didn't play well. It's not like this is just something that stuck to this year. After the IL last year, 223 average, 302 on base percentage, 441 slugging percentage.
I would take that right now.
Absolutely. But it just wasn't. It wasn't what people were interested in at that time. I mean, I guess there could have been a possibility that they could have dealt him for sure. I don't hate on them sitting on it because I thought last year he was going to be better than what he was showing in June and July. And the fact that he's just been this bad in August, September of last year, and in April and May this year, I know it doesn't shock some of you, but it has been shocking that he's been this bad because he did show patience at spring training that he hasn't shown before. And he's shown patience before this year that he hasn't shown before. And the actual quality of contact has gone down. My main wonder with him is just, can he actually see? I mean, you see Max Muncy getting glasses, and there's an actual improvement in his hitting, that he's actually making solid contact now that he has glasses. Who would have thought? Hey, I have an alcoholic in my life. I'm going to have him stop drinking. Maybe that will fix their problem. It's not that simple. But, hey, you know, can Luis Robert Jr. see is the main question I have in 2025, and I never thought I'd be asking myself that. Anyways, we are close to a break here. We got to wait a little bit. So I will tap dance a little bit by going into the interview that we were supposed to have with Nick Bledsoe tonight. Nick is a data analyst slash I can't think of the actual word right now. But Nick put together a wonderful piece on White Sox Reddit, software engineer, also into baseball analytics. You can follow him at Bledsoe Nick. He posted this wonderful manifesto, as he called it, on White Sox Reddit, talking about the ways to fix Andrew Vaughn. I talked to him for about 15 minutes, but he sounded like a robot once we went to actually process it. So I'll have to have Nick back on the podcast, but you can go read this 13-page manifesto for yourself, whether it be on Reddit or you can go follow him at Bledsoe Nick on X and over on Twitter. There is the full 13-page manifesto that he put together. And I think it's interesting. Again, this is a player that was a top 3 pick in 2018-19. I can't think of the year right now. And the biggest thing that Nick talked to me about is everything that we've talked about before. The place that he's intercepting the ball, it's a little bit too deep, and then that leads to the power that he does have being hit to left center field. He's not out in front of the ball enough to actually take that power to a more productive place, like down the left field line or to left center. There was also things that he's theorized that, you know, he should possibly just be using a lighter bat. His bat speed right now is around 69 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour. The golden zone, at least for Nick's data analysis, is to be around 72 miles per hour. And then just also the biggest thing that most people have talked about with the White Sox is changing Vaughn's plate approach. His lack of walks is something that is truly killer. And when you have so many margins to be right on, you can't be too powerful or putting your power to left center field because, again, he's so small. He doesn't have the levers to actually hit it out to left center field. When he's a little bit late too, he's not able to get the full power to right center field. And then when you're just putting so many balls in play that aren't going to the right places and you're not walking, you're not getting on base, and he's just fairly not valuable. I think he is a league average, expected weighted on base average, but he just doesn't walk at all. And it's a huge killer. I really do urge you to go check out Nick's fantastic work at Bledsoe Nick. I'm going to try to have him on soon to redo the bad recording that I did today. So sorry to Nick for that, and appreciate his time for joining us today. We were supposed to have Nick on, but we'll try to amend that. We have to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast presented by Bet365. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is Illinois' favorite cannabis dispensary. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. It's a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, and they are a one-stop shop for all of your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city like Wrigleyville and River North, to the suburbs like Champaign, South Beloit, and my favorite, Elmwood Park. They know you'll love Cresco and FloraCal's incredible quality and consistent products, so go check out their site if you haven't yet at sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders, and for existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Lab branded item. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Empire Today. I have a cousin, Jake. I love him. He's great. He works at one of these big box stores, though. He's not a flooring expert. He's not a paint expert. He could barely help you with the self-checkout. If you are trying to remodel your home, do not rely on my cousin Jake at the big box store. Do not rely on your husband's buddy's friend to do a favor for you on the weekend to install your flooring. Head over to Empire, use the experts, because they are putting floors in your home that will last you a very, very long time. I don't want to say forever, because that might be a little bit over the top. I don't know if they could promise forever, but I mean, you could look at some of these floors that are in homes. They last like longer than lifetimes.
Sean, can you promise forever?
No. Anyways, we've all been to those big box stores. You'll wander aimlessly without the proper help. The experts over at Empire can help you find the best floor for your house. And since everything is better at home, schedule a free in-home estimate today. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 off discount when using promo code CHGO. You heard that right. A $350 off discount when using promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empire.com/CHGO for full details. Get cousin Jake on the show. I could get cousin Jake on the show. Jake has, I think, little to zero knowledge on Chicago White Sox baseball. So would it be a good episode? Probably not. But I could have Jake on the show. We'll ponder it. You want to shut it down? Ponder it, producer Joey?
Oh, okay. No, that's going to go on the list. Absolutely.
It shouldn't.
We consider everything. It's going to be a long season. You have to have a little bit more of a taste. You just can't agree to everything I say. My cousin Jake, I said he doesn't know anything about baseball. Why would we have him on? I said I'm putting it in a file, and as your producer, that file's going to disappear. And then when you're like, where's cousin Jake? I'm be like, oh, man, I couldn't find that file.
Shut it down. All right, let's save the fun stuff for later. We're going to talk about the quarter century team that people just loved on social media. Man, I loved making the CHGO Sox all-century quarter team, or whatever, the all-quarter century team. What a fun experience that was. Let's wait and hold on that for a little bit, and let's talk about the 78. Some news happened this morning as Joe Mansueto, the current owner of the Chicago Fire, founder and CEO of Morningstar, I believe one of the top 500 most richest people in America with a estimated net worth over like $5 billion, has announced a self-funded stadium at the 78. They plan a $650 million stadium in the South Loop's long-dormant 78 track. This is from the Chicago Sun-Times. Mansueto chooses to build his own stadium at the 78 in part because it's the political path of least resistance, though it will require tens of millions in subsidies for utilities to prep the site. I do just want to bring up, though, I laughed at that because when Jerry Reinsdorf talked to Cranes back in February of 2024, he said $1.1 billion in subsidies, but also up to $900 million in infrastructure. And Mansueto, with this $650 million, is just saying that it'll be about $10 million in subsidies. So if you're wondering how this is getting built, it's because Jerry Reinsdorf is desperate, wants it so badly, wants public funding for this brand new stadium. He is offering $200 million, $450 million short of what Mansueto is putting up for this this proposed stadium. Reinsdorf said that he put up $200 million towards the project, which, again, is $450 million short of the true price tag. The White Sox did have a statement, but first let me read the Fire statement to you first. Dear Chicago, and this is from Joe Mansueto, I love this city. I was born and raised in the shadow of its iconic skyline. I moved here for college 50 years ago, and I never left. Chicago is where I built my business, my family, and life, and while I never set out to own a professional sports team, when the chance came to purchase the Chicago Fire in 2018, I could not pass it up. Soccer is the world's game, and a world-class city like ours deserves a world-class club with a world-class home to match. Today, we're proud to announce our plans for a new privately funded soccer-specific stadium and entertainment district at Roosevelt and the River. We expect to open in spring of 2028. This new home for the Chicago Fire Football Club will anchor the city's future 78th neighborhood and serve as a catalyst for job creation, economic development, and a vibrant community life. But this project is much more than a stadium. It's a space for all fans, backgrounds, and neighborhoods to come together and celebrate the beautiful game right in the heart of our city. It's about investing in Chicago, not on just match days, but every day as committed community partners. The Chicago Fire is a club on the rise, and soon we'll have a permanent home that reflects the passion, energy, and pride of the city we love. I know a ton of Chicago Fire fans that are absolutely thrilled about this. If you do want to learn more, there was a breaking Fire podcast done today by Alex Campbell on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel, so you can go check that out if you do want more Fire-specific information. The Sox did put out a press release today, and I do want to thank Kevin Wells, producer here at CHGO and reporter over at WGN, for getting me this. The Sox statement was, Related Midwest first approached the White Sox about building a new ballpark on a piece of property they were developing, and we continue to consider the site as an option. We believe in Related Midwest's vision for the 78 and remain confident the riverfront location could serve as a home to both teams. We continue to have conversations with Related Midwest about the site's possibilities and opportunities. This isn't super out of the blue. There were reports, I believe, back in, I think it was February, that 78 was open to both the White Sox and Fire. Why would they be against that? Truly. The 78 is absolutely fine with welcoming both the Sox and the Fire, because that just means two massive, massive anchors for their real estate investment. So if they could get two professional sports teams to build up the 78th neighborhood, they'd be thrilled and over the moon. I don't know if the Fire are that interested in having the Sox be a part of this 78 complex. When they underline, we're proud to announce our plans for a new privately funded soccer-specific stadium, that seems like it's going to be a soccer-specific stadium. The park that sits south of Roosevelt and just north of Chinatown's, I forget what park that is, but there's a park just like right on the edge of Chinatown, and there's a spot of land north of that that's right along the river, south of Roosevelt, that will be the 78. There is, I think, 72 acres of land, so it isn't impossible to have two sports complex on the property. I think the biggest thing, though, is this was Reinsdorf's play. This was Reinsdorf's opportunity to try to get publicly funded money to push his potential or future selling kind of over the top. If he was able to secure a future site for the White Sox, that would have just been, extra zeros on his future sale or his son's future sales of the team whenever Reinsdorf passes. But I think the scenario has changed a pretty decent amount from back in 2024 to this point. Now we do know the kind of step up that the Ishbias have taken, specifically Justin Ishbia has taken with this. We do know that they now own about 30 to 40% of the minority stakes in the White Sox. That doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, because Jerry Reinsdorf has to sell the controlling stakes, and that has nothing to do with the minority stakes. The Ishbias can own 100% of the minority stakes. Reinsdorf has the controlling stake, and he has to give up that controlling stake before the Ishbias even take over. But the Ishbias were in the process of buying the Twins at that point, and now they've completely abandoned that and have increased their stake in the White Sox. I don't think that this means the White Sox will be moving out of Chicago. Reinsdorf did mention that the White Sox would be more valuable outside of Chicago, and that would be a possibility of them moving. But I think it was just a similar power play to the 80s when he was using Tampa Bay as a possibility to leave Chicago and not build what is now Wright Field. I think that Reinsdorf is pretty much done with the Sox. And I don't mean that to be rude or anything, but I don't think that beyond trying to get state-funded money, which seems like a complete long shot if J.B. Pritzker is running this operation, if he is still the governor, it seems like it's a long shot for Reinsdorf to get public money from Pritzker. I don't think that this is going to be a main priority for Reinsdorf now that the Fire have announced this project. I think the biggest part was getting state money, and I just don't think Pritzker is interested in giving state money to billionaires. That's why, again, you see the Sun-Times mention that Mansueto is doing this because it's the path of least resistance. I think the White Sox are likely just going to stick at 35th and Shields. You have some of our diehard Discord members, specifically AJ, saying, the Sox have the 5th oldest ballpark, but you walk around Wright Field, it's not in disarray. It's not a ballpark that's crumbling. It's not in a bad shape, and it was only built around 30 years ago. There's no talk of tearing down Camden that was built a year after. And Camden is going to be a ballpark that stands hopefully for a very, very, very long time. So I do think that this stadium talk is a little bit far-fetched, and I think especially if Reinsdorf isn't going to be serious about putting his capital towards the stadium, it just won't get done. And what we will likely have to deal with is Ishbia talking about the possibilities of a new stadium once he is the owner, if he is ever the owner. And, I think his goal is to stay in Chicago. So I would be really surprised if the Sox are moved out of this town. And that's really the update on the 78. The Sox, I found it far-fetched for them to build a new stadium. And even with the 78 being announced, I don't think the Fire want the Sox in on this. So I would have to say the Sox are likely staying at 35th and Shields. Let's go to the biggest thing that happened yesterday as the Sox lost 13-1. It is CHGO's all-quarter century White Sox team. Yay! The Athletic did this. I believe it was Jason Stark.
Correct.
He did this for Major League Baseball, and it made a lot of people upset. And we said, hey, what if we did this for our White Sox teams?
America.
I wanted to avoid this. I cannot lie. Joey actually gave up the first draft of this team, and I purposely did not respond to it because I really didn't want to do this exercise. For one reason and one reason only. This is from 2000 to 2024. The team is AJ Pierzynski at catcher, Jose Abreu at first, Ray Durham at second, Alice Ramirez at shortstop, Jose Valentin at third base, Carlos Lee in left field, Aaron Rowan in center field, Maglio Ordonez in right field, Paul Konerko is your DH. The starting rotation is Burley, Sale, Quintana, Danks, Garland. Your closer is Bobby Jenks.
History!
Ooh, yeah, I didn't want to do this because you could have just made this the 2005 team. Uribe and Iguchi aren't the best of the all-quarter century team, but Uribe has one of the biggest moments of that 05 series, diving into the stands. He also has that crazy home run in the Red Sox series. I think he gets a grand slam off David Wells, right?
He might be the best defensive shortstop of the 21st century for the White Sox.
I think it might be Alice. It wasn't the best time. I can't lie to you. And then it turned into Adam Hogue turning this into Scott Podsednik versus Carlos Lee. And it's that's not the actual discussion. This isn't us digging up if they should have traded Carlos Lee or not in 2005.
So my big question for you is, and full transparency, I find these exercises to be wildly fun. And I enjoy all the
what do you find fun about it?
Because honestly, in the scheme of life of disagreements and stuff and sports disagreements, this is the stuff that we can actually go back and forth on and walk away from each other without freaking out. Now, some people obviously on Twitter,
that's not true.
I know, but that's just Twitter, man.
No, but I know. But the worst is when you look at that, and I get crap for not even just including Konerko and Abreu, but having Abreu at DH and Abreu at first base. It's not like anyone could be like, oh, well, Abreu did X, Y, and Z with these stats. No, it's just I'm stupid. I'm a Cubs fan, and I don't watch baseball. Paul Konerko is the greatest first baseman to ever live, and if you put Abreu at DH, you should be shot.
What did he just say about Paulie? What did he just say about Paulie?
It's so stupid. Like you look at WAR. You look at WAR from 2000 to 2024, and there are people advocating for Frank Thomas to be the DH. You look at the two top WAR getters from 2000 to 2024, it's Jose Abreu and Paul Konerko. I have not heard from a single person a good argument to include Frank Thomas on this team.
There is none.
There is none.
There is
none. He missed all of 01. He missed all of 05. He did not have a single at-bat in the postseason for the Sox. Carl Levitt was your DH throughout the postseason. There is no reason why Frank Thomas should be on this team. You cannot create an argument because there is not one. You look at the top 16 WAR getters. I put, 9 of the 16 in there. I do Abreu, Konerko, Ramirez, Ordonez, and Valentine. Those are the top 5. I'll tell you where I screwed up. I wanted to put Valentine at second. I was going to leave Durham off, and I was going to put Creedy at third base. I feel like that is probably the best all-quarter century team. Valentine never played second base for the Sox. He played center field, left field, third base, shortstop, mostly shortstop. I was just trying to get the best players out there. Valentine's a switch hitter. He could play multiple positions. I didn't think it was crazy to put him at second base. My coworkers would not allow me to do that, so that's why Valentine's at third base. That was the dumbest decision that I did. I should have left Valentine off the team entirely. I should have just put Creedy at third base, and we should have called it a day.
But that's the thing is, how did you personally attack your list? You attacked it from a cumulative.
I attacked it from a statistical standpoint.
Correct. Now, some of these people, and when Adam Ho goes Carlos Lee versus Scotty Pods, they don't win a World Series without Scotty Pods. I think that's the part of the exercise is that this isn't a list of if you have to win a baseball game tomorrow, who is your starting lineup. This is who are the most by numbers and production, and also, as you said, a longevity award too as well. It all kind of gets factored in, so it's interesting to see how people take different ingredients to make their own conclusion.
Yeah, and blank name saying Valentine's D was never close to Creedy level. I never said it was, and I did. That's not even the reason why I left Creedy off. I would have Creedy at third base. I was told to not put Valentine at second base. I dropped Valentine now. Now that I've heard the feedback, I just drop Valentine, leave Durham at second, and then put Creedy at third.
And that's the thing. Jose Abreu, Jim Thome, and Paul Konerko all can't be on this team.
No,
Jose Abreu and Paul Konerko both can't play first base. That's a part of the argument.
You can look at the 588 games that Thomas played and the 529 games that Thome played. I think you could probably make an argument at least in Thome's favor. It's a 138 OPS plus versus a 143 OPS plus. It's 15.5 WAR in 588 games to 12.1 WAR in 529 games. If you give Thome, 50 more games, is he closer to Thomas's WAR? I don't know. It was an event. So yay. If you have any thoughts, let me know why. That's all I care about. I was just looking at this from a WAR situation. I was close to
people said Robin Ventura too as well. So some people didn't even understand the concept of the exercise where Robin Ventura never played for the Chicago White Sox in the 21st century. Therefore, he is not allowed to be on the list.
And it's not just because, Frank Thomas played in the 21st century. It's what did they do in the 21st century?
Frank had 2 good years in the 2000s. One of them was one of the better seasons you're ever going to see in a White Sox uniform, that 2000 year when he finished second in MVP. And it was that was the whole Frank's not dead. Big Hurt's not dead. He's back. But a couple years after that, he was no longer with the organization. As you said, wasn't even on the playoff roster.
Yeah. Blank name saying, I think I'm picking Contreras over Danks. Contreras' dominance was arguably the biggest key to the 05 championship. Heard that a decent amount, too. The 2 honorable mentions, at least from most of the responses, were Lucas Giolito at 13.9 WAR and then Contreras at 10 WAR. The biggest thing that hurts Contreras is 04, 05, and 06 were great, and then 07, 08, and 09 weren't. Nearly 900 innings pitched for Contreras, but I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is Burley, Sale, Quintana, Danks, Garland, and Floyd are the only 6 pitchers to pitch over 1,000 innings for the Sox. Garland, Danks, Quintana, Sale, and Burley all are close to 1,500 innings. I just think that I just didn't really want to make it the 05 team at the end of the day. So if you want to put Danks in there or take Danks out, that's fine. I think if I had to remove one, I'd probably just remove Garland and put Contreras in. But I do think that Garland had a little bit more breath of a life going from 2000 to 07. But let me know your thoughts.
It's also interesting, too, just really quick, that was it harder for you to figure out the pitching because that has been the strength of a White Sox organization for the better part of the last 2 decades? Or was it harder to find to do the second base, the third base because of the paucity at second base? Because 2 great years of Joe Crede, does that mean that he is the greatest player of the last 25 years? Even though Jose Valentin, to be very fair, was clutch and on good teams. And he could slug and he was clutch. I mean, he was not a bad player. So it's like the slander for Jose Valentin because you want to prop up Joe Crede. Like, I get it, but at the same time, Joe Crede only really had 2 good years.
And at the end of the day, I mean, it's ring versus no ring. And that's all that matters in the past 24 years. It's the only thing that matters in the past, 100 years for the White Sox. Like, the last, it was what, 19, I got to know my White Sox history.
So why isn't Pablo Ozuna on this
1919, list? And then 2005, right? So, in the past 100 years of baseball, that's the one year that was, really, really good. There's 1959 as well, but, this is a pretty terrible franchise history. And we had our World Series win within that 24 years. That's the reason why people are going, dying the wool for the 05 team. I don't blame them, but my whole idea was just trying to avoid, the 05 team. I really just went with the top 5 in WAR. Burley's at 48.9, Sales at 30.2, Quintana at 21.2, Danks at 20.4, Garland at 18.4, Floyd's at 16.5, Giolito at 13.9. Some people wanted Freddie Garcia as well, 12.5. Javi Vasquez, 12.1. Cease, 11.5. Rodon, 11.3. And then the one I feel like that got screwed, Matt Thornton, 10.8 WAR. Bobby Jenks, 8.7 WAR. Bobby Jenks, the only closer with over 100 saves, so that's why I ended up putting him with that. And also the ring. If I leave Bobby Jenks out, I'll get
multiple 40 save seasons. But yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Adam Eaton, good run at it.
I wanted to put him in too, but
the sneaky ones
White
underneath.
Sox fans don't like Adam Eaton. I don't know if you know that.
You know who didn't get a lot of consideration? Alex Rios.
No, he didn't. And he should have.
Happy about it.
We're going to wrap it up here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Presented by Bet365. Download the app and use code CHGO365. Whatever the moment, it is never ordinary from our friends over at Bet365. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We appreciate you joining us. We will be with you on Thursday for Luis Robert Jr.'s return against the Detroit Tigers for their game at 1:10. We'll have the post game for you on Thursday. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.